Greetings, community. It's Kevin from 1-2 Comic Talk, and with me again, Christy Shin of Horatory Studios. Thank you, Christy,
Hey,
for being
how's
here
it
again.
going? How's it
You
going,
know,
guys?
I am so, as always, grateful. I don't even know if I can do this thing without you anymore. And I was just thinking about this earlier. I think you were the first person we ever interviewed on the show, weren't you?
I guess I am. Yeah, I guess that's what happened.
That's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, I mean, I'm kind of quiet sometimes because I'm just like, I'm tired and I'm in a rush of sleep, and I don't know why. Like, I can't go back to bed anyway, so it's like, but
I
yeah, no,
thought I saw you. I thought I saw you up early this morning.
I do. It's like weird. Like, ever since I start, I mean, I've been doing it generally, but I'll go to bed like at 10, 11, almost, like almost 12, right? I'll go to bed and I'll wake
Hmm.
up at like 5 in the morning for no reason. And then I can't go back to sleep. So I kind of go up and do the things like in my day, eat breakfast or some crap, And then when I go and then I kind of like feel tired like around noon, but I don't take a nap or anything. And it's just doing stuff online or doing whatever, or kind of looking at this and that, the other thing. Hey, backseat driver, what's up? But it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like I kind of go through my day. I'm looking at a couple of dropship options for my Kickstarter. Because you know how like I didn't know really where to go. Because I knew there were
Right.
online things to come pick it up, but I thought you had to pay. And other people were recommending, but I think I found one that was really pretty good. So I'm going to give it a try. And then, so when I get the materials and then the next few days, I'll start unloading all my Kickstarter goods onto people.
Awesome. That's
Yeah. Right.
awesome. Well, hey, community, we appreciate you being here. And our special featured guest today is it was an individual I met shortly before this whole outbreak happened. Um, After speaking with this individual, uh, I had noticed that there was something personal that had resonated with me with the story in which that he was talking about. The story that I'm talking about here is this one right here. You'll probably notice that I have 5 copies of Sweetheart, and I'll explain that a little bit later. As most people know, I'm one of those people that kind of like an A and B type cover, and then I'll do that with my whole complete set. This story really hit me hard, and then after reading the story, understanding the metaphors, the correlations, and everything thereby, I had to have my daughter read this, and as opposed to me going on and on, I would rather bring this individual who took time along with his signing event that he was at to speak to the Sketchy Bug group. I want to say that I was there a minimum of 15, 20 minutes, and he had to speak with that group considerably longer, being that I witnessed him being there speaking to the group and taking time and informing them how the business works and giving insights on which he could. As opposed to, again, me keep speaking more and more praise about this. I would love to bring this individual in. Dillon, Mr. Gilbertson, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys so much for having me. This is awesome. I'd love to be here on every occasion, but given that we're all at home, I'm glad that I could spend more time with you than I might have been able to otherwise.
We appreciate you being here, and all things considered, I'll take what I can get, being that I can get you here now. Yeah. I do wish that we weren't in this situation, but I do hope that you are safe and healthy and well, along with you, community.
Yeah.
Now, when I first met you, you were, I think, in about towards the end of the night, as far as at the signing event over here at the Comic Bug, and we got to speak kind of briefly, but I got to hear you more as you were talking with the Sketchy Bug group. So, not to, how should I say, premature get into the storyline, the basis, all that, but if you could first inform the community who you are, what you do as far as with the book that I'm speaking about, and so forth. I'm sure you can give a better bio than I could talk about you.
Yeah. So my name's Dillon Gilbertson, as you might have guessed. I am the writer and creator of Sweetheart. Sweetheart is a book that I first started independently. I published the first 2 issues on my own through Kickstarter, which it was then picked up by Action Lab Danger Zone. and it's now out. First through 2 issues are out. Third one's coming out soon. The elevator pitch for the book is, it's kind of like Stephen King's It, but there's more than one Pennywise, and the entire town knows about them. And so it takes place in a town called Ellicott City, Maryland. There's everything in the town is built around the citizens being actively stalked by these monsters. And so the school gives regular lessons on them. The police force has special procedures. The hospital has special treatments. Everything is built to make the citizens comfortable while they're being hunted. And so the catch is that once a monster chooses its victims, it stays with them their entire life until it successfully kills them. And so if you're unfortunate enough to be chosen as a young adult or a child, then now you have to base your life growing up around this monster. And it's kind of what that can do to people who are being hunted, and about the people who love the people who are being hunted.
Now, this is pitched as a kind of an obvious and how should I say, surface level horror type, almost suspense at times too, storyline, but there's layers. There's obvious metaphors, symbolic meanings behind everything that you're writing in this. So could you elaborate a little bit exactly on, for instance, the monsters, like when they choose an individual, those individuals are quote unquote marked for life.
Yeah.
But that's also a quote unquote perception of a condition. So
yeah.
what is that condition correlating to?
So the condition, so I wrote the book from the perspective of being a type 1 diabetic. I sort of got this idea because I work as a sleep researcher during my day job, which is actually my night job. So I work a lot of overnight shifts. And so after an overnight shift, I had a meeting with my endocrinologist, which is sort of a fancy term for my diabetes doctor. And so I had to go straight from my overnight to speak with him about complications, or about what I'm doing well, what I'm not doing so well, what could happen in the future, stuff like that. And so I was then driving home from there, and like, I should not have been driving as tired as I was, but I started thinking more and more about it. Is like, this thing's never going to go away. I've had it my entire life. Like, it feels like it's actively trying to kill me sometimes. And I was like, what if that was actually a monster that just followed me all the time? And so I started thinking about it, and then I started thinking about how my mom reacted when I was first diagnosed when I was 6, and how, first of all, how broken up she was about it, but then also how much she did to help me with it in the beginning and then throughout my entire life. And so, which actually became a very specific scene in the first issue. And then I got home, and then I jotted this all down on a napkin, as most great ideas are. And then I passed out, woke up like what felt like probably 14 hours later, and then just started writing this issue. And so I wrote the first issue out, and it felt amazing to get this out on page, and it felt like it was going to be a great story. And then I ended up, after I showed it to a few people, they were letting me know that, hey, this actually speaks to me on a level of my addiction that I've been struggling with. Or someone wrote me a letter about how they related to it on the level of depression. And I was like, holy crap, like, there are other people that, like, this isn't just a diabetes thing. It's not just a me thing. Like, there are other connections around that people sort of feel for this. And so then going forward, I did the best I could to speak from that personal level. Like, I can only speak from the level of type 1 diabetes, but I like to think that a lot of those struggles now, there's a lot of overlap with other conditions. And so I can remove a lot of the pieces that are diabetes specific and still tell this story that's both very personal but very relatable to a lot of other people.
That's kind of weird. Oh, sorry.
I'll go ahead, Christy. Yeah, no, go, Christy, please.
Well, it's kind of weird. It sort of hits home when it was put in that context. Because at first when I read Sweetheart, just to kind of get familiarized with it, it was interesting because I thought of it as like kind of the Wendigo. Because, you know, you read like scary stories to tell in the dark, how they draw about the Wendigo, how it's described, but there's like different ones. And I thought that was kind of cool. But then when you put it in the thing of a chronic condition or a disease, I don't know exactly what diabetes is really considered now, because it's sort of, the onset is kind of odd in a way. Like you're either born with it or it comes later. My dad's a type 2.
Yeah.
We got it when he was 70 something. So with me, I kind of sort of relate to in my own weird way, because I had a pancreatic tumor last year removed.
Oh,
and one of the things they told me is that you may be diabetic. Now it ended up that I didn't. For some reason, the 30% that was left was like, no, screw this. We're not doing that.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing is that it's sort of weird in a way. I can sort of see why you did it. It's sort of like its own little Wendigo in a way. Like it just chases you, it follows you, and it's hungry for you.
Yeah, it's and we can go into it. I guess now or later we can get into the designs of the monsters were actually sort of based around that as well. Like, because so like you said, like you said it was your father that was a type 2.
My father's a type 2. Yeah, it's like none of us kids, none of the family is diabetic except him now. But he's got a very late stage.
Yeah. So type 1 and type 2 diabetes, I mean, they're the same species of monster, right? They're both a type of diabetes, but their onset and the way they sort of go about their lives or whatever, go about attacking their victim, I suppose you could say, are very different from one another. There's similarities, and so that was something that we tried to do as well in the book. Is there are these two types of monsters, and yes, you can consider them both the same species of monster, but their appearance is very different, their behavior is very different, and so we wanted to do that. So that's exactly right. I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah.
I think how they attack is very interesting, because it's like, and what, not to give away the story, but the bruiser, let's say the bigger one, that is more kind of annoying, because it's like you're used to living a certain amount of time before and I'm guessing that's the type 2, because one of the characters gets it later in life.
Right.
Where the skinny one, where it says sweet pea all the time, that's the one where it's like the type 1, where it's no fault of yours except your pancreas just doesn't produce enough or doesn't create insulin past a certain point, and then it marks. And I found it interesting how it kind of chew you up, and then how it kills one of the characters. It's like, I've noticed some people, who have chronic conditions just say, well, fuck it, and they just live recklessly until it's going to kill me anyway. I just might be done with it,
Right. Yeah. So that's that's something that I've also thought about a lot, and I think probably comes through a lot in the book. But I mean, there's a lot of psychological layers that I'm not qualified to speak on, but it does seem like so I've always told people that I feel in a way there's the silver lining to being diagnosed at a young age is that there were very little lifestyle changes that I had to make, right? I was 6 years old. Like, I didn't really have a penchant for like sugary sodas and things like that yet. And so when I was diagnosed, they're like, you can't have candy, you can't have regular soda, you can't have regular syrup on your pancakes. You shouldn't eat many pancakes to begin with. And at 6, I'm like, that kind of sucks, but like, okay. And then I grew up, and then all my friends were like, how can you drink diet soda? It's disgusting. And then I would take a sip of their regular soda. I was like, ugh, like it's so sugary and syrupy. How do you drink it? And then go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I kind of like, it's weird because I kind of, not to hijack, but it's like, I'm kind of the same way, even though I'm not diabetic, I don't have a penchant for super sweets. Like, so I prefer diet soda. But then when people like give me a regular can soda, I'm like, oh.
It's hard. It's tough. Like, so, and so the thing is, so, and then if you're diagnosed with type 2 at a later age, like that sucks. Like, that's so hard to make such a drastic lifestyle change that it can't, one of the primary difficulties with that is just changing the way you live your entire life. And so it becomes important to have this support system around you. Like, if your friends can help you, if your family can help you, please, let them. I mean, don't let them run your life, but it's important to have this support system, because changing your life isn't easy. And so it becomes a slippery slope to just say, like you said, just say, fuck it. It's going to kill me anyway. I've lived this long. Like, I don't want to change the way I do things. And that's it's a difficult thing to confront.
Yeah. So it's
I can take this moment to introduce you guys. Dillon.
Hey, Dillon.
Hey, Dillon. How's it going?
I just read your story.
Dillon
It's amazing.
Right
is another one of the regular co-hosts on the panel that when he's been working night shifts. He still tries to pop in here, and I don't know how he does it, but
that's
he does it.
Yeah. Night shifts suck, especially when you got stuff in the day to do.
Yeah, I used to just sleep all day, like in my young. I'm still young, so I always hate saying it, but when I was more younger and dumber, and I sleep all day. So now it's funny that now that I have to work third shift and I have to stay up late, I hate sleeping all day because it's such a waste. I feel like I waste my whole day.
I absolutely get that. I was telling them earlier. So my day job, that's actually my night job, is I work as a sleep researcher, and so I do a lot of overnight shifts. And so like when I crash at like 7 or 8 a.m. and then wake up at 5 or whatever, I'm just like, where the hell did my day go? Like, that sucks. Yep. I just wasted the entire day sleeping.
Oh man, some days I'm sleeping till 8. Lately I've been getting up at 5, and I'm like, okay, that's a lot better, because before I'd go in at 9, I'd wake up at like 8:30, and I'd like be rushing to get to work. I'm like, this is not. So 5 is a little better. It still sucks though.
Yeah, that's rough. You have sympathies for that.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
It's kind of weird, like in this. Sorry. Like I was just gonna say, like how our sleep is kind of this weird ennui now. Like unless we have like an actual schedule, it's got to be hard. Like lately, I've been just kind of feeling fatigued all day, even though I go to bed at midnight. Kevin said, "Weren't you up here earlier?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I wake up at 5 for some freaking reason every day."
Yeah.
So it's
I noticed that.
But I mean, that's me all the time. So it's like even though I'm kind of sluggish, it's like I don't feel like taking a nap. So it's kind of weird. But anyway. So I didn't mean to interrupt.
If I notice that you're up at 5, that means I'm up at 5.
Yeah, right.
So I'm right there with you. But Dillon, as you were talking about in the story, see, I think there's so much there that many people can, how should I say, align with. They can find elements in your storytelling that they can say, okay, there's me. Now I may not have this disease, but I can kind of understand because I do this or I do that, or I'm compulsive about this. So what I'm getting at in your storytelling, even though you identify with two obvious, how we should call it, monsters, the persisting demons that are always there, you are describing in detail, but so compacted and so in so few pages, the torture it is like to live with a daily disease or with something that is daily taunting and or haunting you. And I don't think people, well, we do now because we have the time to ourselves, in the solitude, but I don't think people really take time to reflect or really identify with what you're describing in these books until they're actually reading it and go, oh, wow, I didn't realize I do that. Or I didn't realize that I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you touch on in your storytelling, is there's something for everyone that they can now see that, wow, I think I'm identifying with this because I see I do that, or I have this, or so yeah. I think that's one reason why people identify so well with this story, is that you're touching on elements that we all go through. Yep. How were you able to do that from a single perspective of just writing it from a standpoint of diabetes?
So at first, for the first issue, it was more or less by happenstance. It was sort of a lucky draw. So when I wrote it, as I said, I wrote it from the unique or the very specific perspective of type 1 diabetes, with the knowledge that I have and the people that I knew who had type 2 diabetes. And then people were, after they read it, they let me know, they said, hey, I actually suffer from chronic depression, and like these are things that I relate to. And I was like, really? And then I was almost relieved in a way. I mean, it's always unfortunate when someone has to battle things like this, but was interested to see that the struggles that I had with it, I was not, it wasn't just me, right? I wasn't alone in this. And so it's not just me and other diabetics, like it's me and people who might have depression or addiction or HIV, or someone who knows somebody who has HIV, things like that. Like these are struggles that can span other ailments. And so after the first issue, I sort of was able to I was able to still write from this perspective, but then like if I just sort of removed a lot of the pieces that were diabetic specific, it then became just this much broader scope, and it helped resonate with a lot of other people. And I get letters via email. Like I still get, like, I'll be sitting here eating dinner with my fiance, and I'll be like, hold on, I gotta email, and I'll read it, and like just have to stop eating dinner for a while because these letters are they're breathtaking in a way. I can't, they're difficult for me to read out loud. And so kind of by happenstance, like I said, but then as it went on, just by removing diabetes specific pieces, it just sort of naturally blended with other ailments, I guess, is the short answer of my long-winded rambling there.
Well, I like the fact that you kept a few in there. That was like, now that I see it in context, it's like when the kids are kind of fucking with one of the girls that got targeted while young. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, my bully, he's such a fat fuck. Do you think one of them will go after him? I mean, I'm kind of laughing because, first of all, she was being an asshole back to him because he's a total shithead to her.
He's all like frown face, and it's like, you started it.
Yeah, it's like, fuck you. But
Justin is such a piece of shit.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it's sort of like, it's like, I don't need to be nice to somebody being an asshole to me for a message. Right. I've had so many people come at me with demon bitch. Like one guy got really upset when I drew one, and I was like, why are you fucking upset, man? It's just, and I'm laughing at him.
Right.
But the other bit is like, when you have diabetes, yes, comorbidities are important, like extra weight gain, diet, and everything that can put on the onset of diabetes, but it's not always the case. Like, some people my dad wasn't obese when he got type 2, but he just got it. So, but he's lost a lot of more weight, but he went very draconian about his weight and eating schedule. Like he's doing it the natural way, but he's in a situation where he is, because when he took the metformin, he was like, oh, I felt so bad. So I don't know if you have to take metformin. I know you do have to inject insulin if you're type 1. It's just a requirement. Type 2 is weird because it's like you sometimes have to, but you don't. You just have to take other medication.
Yeah. So just the very watered down, very surface level, I guess, explanation for the difference between type 1 and type 2. So type 1 is that you don't produce insulin, and so you have to inject it. You have to actually take insulin. Yeah. And then type 2, and the reason, so one of the misconceptions is, like, as you said, people with type 2 isn't caused by obesity. Like being overweight is not what causes type 2 diabetes. You can get type 2 diabetes without being overweight. Yeah. But the reason that more often than not they will be is because of your diet, or because you're overproducing insulin. And so when you eat, your body produces insulin to use the sugar that you're consuming. And then after a while, with chronically high secretion of insulin, your body stops responding to it. It's like, we've got so much insulin, we don't want it anymore. And so you start to accumulate sugar in your blood because the insulin isn't working anymore. Yeah. And so what drugs like metformin do is they make your body more sensitive to the insulin that you're already producing.
Yeah, which is weird because it's like my dad never really, he and I are a lot alike. We don't really eat a lot of sweets. We don't eat a lot of candy. We never really I actually ended up overeating more than him. Yep. Had a relatively healthy diet. I've had it too. So it's like kind of weird how that happens.
Yes, I have a friend in one of my best friends growing up. She's hypoglycemic. And so being hypoglycemic, your body is producing too much insulin even without having a crappy diet. Like your body just, for whatever reason, starts producing more. And so if you're hypoglycemic, that's often one of the precursors to type 2 diabetes, because even if you're eating fine, you're getting too much insulin, and eventually your body might start not responding to it. And so, we can go all day about like the weird complexities of how the body gets that. 'Cause diabetes is a weird thing. There's very simple explanations for all of them, but there's always these weird. The body's weird. That's all.
Yeah.
Now, what I found the brilliance in your writing is the fact that you have been able to take all this scientific formulations of how the body responds to certain things, but you put it into words to where people can now receive that as an emotion. And what I'm getting at is everyone knows in the community, some of my favorite books, and everyone knows that I'm always touting, David Boer, Drew Zucker, the whole Canto thing. It's what brought my son together and start the whole show of 1-2 Comic Talk was that book.
Yeah.
Now, by issue 5, I was very much emotionally involved in this book. Now, in comparison, you had managed to do the same thing by issue 2 for me. And I don't know if it's the obvious biasness that I will self-admit that because my daughter suffers from type 1, that I was there and in emotionally in, the story because of which. But at the same point, in your storytelling, the whole time you're describing the story, not on a surface level. You're drawing a lot of symbolisms, a lot of ways for an individual that doesn't suffer from the disease, they're reading the book and being almost, horrified by these creatures, but they can now draw association with what someone else has suffered. And if they allow themselves, can now feel the emotional involvement. That's where I went. And to me, there's a brilliance there. So, I mean, I want to know, how the hell did you manage to be able to throw so much emotion in something that's so horrifying and allow the reader to be able to be attached to something that's also freaking them out at the same time?
I mean, that's what horror is, right? Horror is one of the baser emotions. I guess I don't want to sound pretentious about it, but horror is one of the most basic emotions. And so if you can make someone scared reading a book, then like it's easy to make them feel other things, because horror is so, I don't know, such a powerful thing. But being able to, I think the question is to get you to relate so well to the characters, and to, not sure where I'm going with. I lost track of the question. Ask the question again. I lost it.
Yeah, you know what? How about if I go this way and I'll come back to it in the sense of, you could have told the story a lot of different ways, but you just mentioned horror. So I'm guessing you're a horror fan to tell it this way.
Yeah. Horror's been a part of my life since I can remember. One of the first movies I remember watching was Jaws with my dad.
Yeah.
I watched Jaws. My dad and my mom still tell stories about when I was probably 4 or 5, and my dad would be trying to watch football on TV, and I would go and like stick the VHS of Jaws in there, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? I'm watching football." And I'd go, "Maybe later, Dad," and I'd just stick it in. And then go sit on the couch with him and like watch the scene of like the severed leg falling in the water. So horror is definitely in my blood, I think. So this, I think the case is that these are real emotions that I had myself when I wrote the first issue. And I as I said, the first time I thought about this, I thought about how my mom and how it impacted her. And that's a memory I have vividly. I remember getting diagnosed and coming into the car with her after the appointment, and she just started crying. And I was like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And she was like, "I hope it's not diabetes." And like, she just sort of started driving. I was like, "I don't know what diabetes is. I don't know what that statement means." And I was very confused. I had no idea what was going on. And then she sort of, she came to terms with it, and then she guided me on how to handle it, on how to handle people who might tease me about it, and then as I grew up, how to juggle that and other life things. And then, so those are all things that can be put into like a drama story or anything. But because I grew up with horror, I love horror so much. I think that was just the natural outlet to put it into. And so the horror part it's a horror story, but it being horror was just really the best way that I knew how to tell a story that was very personal and had a lot of emotion behind it.
Now, out of curiosity, why was it set in Maryland? Why pick that town? I'm just curious because it's like, I guess what would have made it more obvious, if you go to, like, there's a British show called Super Size versus Super Skinny, and they'll always go to like Texas or in the South, and they'll show people that, are really morbidly obese and have lost fingers and toes and appendages to diabetes. How come you chose Maryland? I'm not saying that those places suck. I'm just saying that in general. Like, why did you pick something like Maryland? Because you never think of Maryland, as really anything other than Annapolis.
So there are the very first reason that I became aware, I guess, even of Ellicott City was a simple Google search. I was like, what are the most haunted places in America? And it was like one of the allegedly most haunted entire towns in the nation is Ellicott City. There's a lot of history of monsters and ghosts and things that are in Ellicott City. It's a very small town. I wanted it to be a small town story. I'm from a town called Prineville, Oregon. It's got a population of about 9,000. And so I wanted to be able to put that in there as well, give it a more of a small town feel, because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
And then as I started looking more into it, like there's a lot of history with like the molasses industry and the railroads that went through there. The geography as well. There's hills all around the town. And so I started incorporating a lot of these things into the story. And so this will be an exclusive. I don't think I've ever talked about this to anyone, but I had ideas for either a flashback scene or a prequel, or even in later issues if the series were to continue. But one of the things that I wanted to implement was the reason that the monsters are there is because of all these hills that are around. And so if the type 2 monsters are more prone to attack people who are overweight, then it's much more difficult for them to run away from them because there are hills on all sides of it. And so it's difficult to escape because, there are barriers and it's difficult to get out. And so there were just, first and foremost, it was just a haunted town is really the initial answer. And then the more I looked into the town, the more it really started to influence the story. And a lot of those things aren't present in these first 5 issues, but they were important to building the world as a whole. And so we'll hopefully get into that stuff later on if the story is to continue after issue 5.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was just curious, like, why Maryland, because I was just like, now you put it into that context, like, because I know like there are other places in the U.S. and the most obvious ones would be like the most obese population, the most this, the most that. Right. But I also understand why you didn't do it. You probably didn't want it also to be that obvious, A, and B, it's like diabetes, the cause of it is not that obvious in physical appearance to a person.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
You also tied right back into your horror, fan love, you know what I mean? So you were drawing on purposed elements to tie into the storyline. So I like how you actually got this haunted place to tell it.
Yeah.
I mean, horror stories are usually the best. I mean, I usually think those are pretty creepy. Like a small knit town. Some of those small town horror stories are some of my favorites.
Yeah, Stephen King specializes in that stuff. Oh, yeah. Everybody knows how good his stories. Yeah, a lot of the small town horrors I've always really enjoyed the ones that, because they feel more personal, right?
Exactly.
Like there are very few successful. I mean, this is just in the context of movies, but I think there's very few successfully scary horror movies that take place in a city. Like the only one that I can think of, at least off the top of my head, the only one I can think of is Child's Play. It takes place in Chicago.
Right.
A lot of the other ones, like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th takes place in a cabin, that's out in the middle of nowhere with nobody. And so the fewer characters there are, the more personal it feels, and the more you can get attached to these people. And so I think that has a lot to do with it.
Everybody knows everybody. They know everything that's going on, and they always got that secret, like that town history that everyone secret that they don't speak on.
Yeah. So that was another thing that I wanted to try and do. I think when I first started writing the first issue, I was like, everyone's gonna die. Nobody survives. Like I really just wanted to make it the most horrific, dire story I possibly could. And then I obviously didn't. But I really wanted to feel like even like everything. Like you can know the monsters. I'll tell you how they work. I'll tell you what they look like right off the bat. I'll show them to you. But it's not going to matter because they're going to come for you and they're going to attack you and they're going to kill you. And so I try to make it like that. So back to the small town thing, like even if you know every street corner, you know all your neighbors, you know the town, you know the history of the town, you know everything about the town. And so it's frightening when there's an element in that personal space, like your safe personal space that you think you know so well, that's gonna tear you down. And it's I don't know, it's to me it's a very frightening thing to think about. And so I think that had a very, very large impact on why it's a small town, or why I wanted it to be a small town.
And it's like the opposite for big cities would be just more claustrophobia, like with Train to Busan, even though they're not in one location.
Right.
It's a train full of zombies that are infected. So you're like, oh shit, you know?
Right. What am I for sure.
People rushing at me now.
Yeah. They just made a sequel to Train to Busan, didn't they? I think it's
they did. I don't know if I heard it was good or not. But the first one was really good, and it's like takes 4 years after.
Yeah. I don't know if it's on Netflix or not. I don't know. I gotta seek it out though. I want to watch it.
The first one's on Netflix. I don't know about the second one. I know the first one is because I just watched it like a couple weekends ago.
Right.
Yeah. When you write about something that, you know, because there's kind of like two known style of horror. I mean, there's many horrors, but I mean, there's two known styles of horrors in which that we were just talking about, in the sense of not knowing what's coming for you and knowing what's coming for you. And those are two different ways to depict the storyline. Now, you obviously wrote the one that does know what's coming for you. And like you said, one, you made it more intimate because they select individuals and mark them. And then two, because you made it such a small town. Yeah. So these impending dooms make you constantly look over your shoulder when you're reading this book, because you know it's coming. Yeah. And that, I think, allows a person to be freaked out even more as a read. I know I was. As I'm reading this, I was getting more and more freaked out because I'm sitting there. I know something's going to happen. I just don't know when. I know what's coming. I just don't know where. You know, and that wasn't. That wasn't comfortable. It wasn't comfortable at all.
But does that make you feel any better? Like, it's kind of one of those things of having a condition like diabetes. It's like, you know what to do to manage it and to live a long, healthy life. And granted, as years go by, the technology gets better, the understanding gets better, but it can still very much kill you in many, many mundane ways if you're not careful.
Yeah, so that was another thing. You again hit the nail right on the head. So there's in the second issue. I mean, we can get into spoilers, but in the second issue, Maddie gets really frustrated, like because everybody knows that, like, if you have any kind of ailment, they know that you have it. People know that there are ways to control it. But like, even so, like, there are times where it doesn't go according to plan. And so she drinks the tonic like she's told to at the times that she's told to, but the monster comes sometimes anyway. And so she has to think on her feet, and she has to just get to the tonic and drink it. But then people sort of get on her case about it. Like, why aren't you better controlled? Like, what's the deal? Why aren't you doing this better?
Yeah, it's still oh, sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean
I was just going to say that's just something that can be really irritating, and something that I want to sort of filter into the story as well.
Yeah, like she's going like, I drink it. I've drunk it 4 times already. Like, get off my ass. You know, it's like it still comes.
Yeah, like I get it. Like, I get that I could die.
don't understand about diabetes is you can test, you can know your numbers, you can shoot appropriately for what you're about to eat for, or that you're maybe a little high, but that doesn't mean that your body still is gonna, agree.
Yeah.
You still will be high, or if you get stressed out, your numbers get all wacky, and people don't understand that
Yeah.
you don't have full control. And that's another thing I found in this book, as I was reading the story, and she was saying that I'm doing what I'm supposed to, but my body, or in the case of this monster, is still attacking me.
Yeah.
And I see that with my daughter, that she gets frustrated when she's trying to follow her, what she knows to be right, that her medical criteria, and it's still not cooperating. And there's times that she's like, fuck it, I just want to drink a soda and quit.
Yeah. It sucks. It's very difficult to deal with. But yeah, so it's one of those things, that there's something coming, or there's something there, something could happen. You're expecting when you're reading it, you're expecting something to happen, but you don't know when. And so like I think the common analogy people use is like the suspense analogy of the bomb under the table, right? So surprise and shock is just seeing the table explode. But like suspense is seeing the bomb under the table 5 minutes earlier, knowing that there's a bomb under the table, and so you're like, holy crap, when is this going to happen? So it's suspense, right? But then an additional layer to that can be being able to see the timer on the bomb, and then you can flip the tables by making the bomb go off early instead. And so with diabetes and with this story, it's kind of like that. Like you know when it's supposed to happen, or if you have diabetes, when it's supposed to happen, so you try and prevent it. But sometimes the bomb goes off early, and that can be problematic.
I kind of have like it sort of hanging over my head in this way, which is weird because, like, as I said, I had a pancreatic tumor.
Yeah.
Even though I was not diagnosed with any sort of diabetes, it was weird. Like a few days ago, I'd been eating normally and stuff, and all of a sudden I felt kind of weird and shaky. Like I didn't feel like I was really that hungry, but like my blood sugar got low, and I was like kind of shaking. And I'm thinking at the back of my mind was like, oh shit, did my pancreas give out on me or something? Because I'm only working with 30%.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of fucked with my head for a little bit. And then yesterday I had an MRI, and I was actually surprised my oncologist got back to me same day. I guess he didn't want me stewing in it, but
yeah,
they did a checkup on the Whipple procedure just to make, that was the procedure, what they did to reorganize things. And he just said, oh yeah, you're in the clear, you're fine. But I was just like, that is like 99.9%. The surgeon had assured me high 90s, you're fine. Yeah. My oncologist had been in contact with me since the last year, because he said your MET or PET, the cell division rate for cancer, below 1. Right. But if I had leukemia or anything else, that would be about 100 because of rapid division. That didn't happen. So he even sent me articles like, yeah, they don't study this, because mine was a neoplasm. It's a pseudo-papillary tumor, neoplasm.
Okay. Yeah.
So, not to flip it on me, but it was just weird because I kind of understand in a weird way, like, but mine is like, I don't know when it's going to give out if it does, even though I don't have a family history except very late in old age. But still, it's like, I'm only working with so much right now.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was like weird. So like when he came back to me, it was real nice because he said, oh yeah, you're fine, you're in the clear. But it's like 99.9%, I was pretty sure, but that like 0.1% just kind of bugged me a bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with what's been happening with this illness that's going around, COVID-19. It can hit you really hard and make you crash bad, or it can hit you and you seem okay, then you crash, or you just kind of have this weird sort of flu-like thing to you don't do it. But then if you're around anybody and just that right set of triggers, it's just they'll crash or die. It's, even though it doesn't kill as many people as the flu, it's just how people crash. It's bad.
Yeah.
So
the bomb can go off early and you just don't know.
Yeah. So it's kind of more relevant on so many other levels now. It's like, when is it going to hit me?
Yeah.
I know it might hit me, but when,
Right.
Can I bring in the other team? So the whole team that you work on this, can we talk about, let's first talk about Francesco.
Yeah, please. Let's talk about the people that actually made the book as good as it is.
Now, I've noticed that I'm guessing he worked with you hand in hand on this for a while, because the way he depicts the art, the way it's done, is he exemplifies the story by making it really. I mean, it's edgy, it's gritty, and there's almost texture to it. I mean, there's layers here on this creature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
So can you tell a little bit about the creation of the whole artwork between you and he?
yeah. So I found Francesco by browsing Twitter and DeviantArt. I was browsing forever because I had this story written. I was like, and I had a very specific idea of what I wanted to look like in my mind, and I was like, oh, I got to find somebody that fits that. And I had this awful, closed-minded, very very hyper focused thought process for what I wanted the art to be. And then when I found Francesco's profile on DeviantArt, I was looking at his stuff and I was like, holy crap, this is great. And then it was so good that like it actually made me rethink how the book should even look. And then as I caught myself thinking that, and I was like, well, I gotta reach out to him. If his stuff can break my stupid closed-minded view for this, then like I got to reach out. And so I did, and I sent him the synopsis, and he sent me an email back and said that he was very excited, and so we got to work. And then I sent him some descriptions of what I wanted the monsters to look like, and then he sent me a couple variations. And like initially the stringer, the skinnier monster that's on the cover of issues 1, or I guess all the issues on there. So yeah, the thinner monster, I initially wanted him to have like a hood on, and like to this day I don't know why I want it's like just a disembodied hood that wasn't attached to a sweatshirt or anything, just a hood, and
Maybe
then
it's hidden, and how
to hide the face a little bit or something.
Yeah.
And then he sent me back his version, and I was like, oh no, you're right. You are definitely right. This is much better. And then we sort of workshopped the design a little bit more. Like we had some versions of the monster that were that kind of looked like fishy, but I wanted to make sure that they looked like they were from the woods. And so if you think fish, you're going to think the water, and some that look like space aliens. And so we workshopped that together. But then once we finally got into the story and he started doing his thing, I started to see these subtle changes in how obscure or watercolory a lot of his pages looked. And so like in issue 1, when Ben is in the hospital, it's this very scary scene, and he's getting very confusing news for him. He doesn't really know what's going on. And the images in that scene were ever so slightly more blurry. And so it kind of conveys this dreamlike sense of confusion. And so Ben is getting a lot of news at once, nothing he can fully understand or mentally grapple with at the moment. And the reader sort of feels part of Ben's confusion. And so, so in here, and this is also a testament to Marco's colors, is how saturated the lighting is there. Like it's in a hospital room, and the lighting is so saturated that it almost gives this weird glow to it. And so it feels like a dream. Like it doesn't feel like that scene almost stands out from the rest of the book, and just because of the way it's lit. And so
go on, sorry.
Well, actually, to get in the colors, I've noticed that when you get, like, for instance, when you look at just the cover, everything's very dark, very, exemplifying the horror of it. You know what I mean?
That design is Francesco's design as well. I gave Francesco an idea for a cover, and then he gave me that.
It's almost fantasy-like. It's all happy. There's a lot of joy. And then so every time you get into a whole new emotion, or every time you're trying to pull out an emotion, the colors change, the pencils change, the lines change, everything is, and not subtly, but enough to where you there's enough segue there to not to hit you hard and go, wait, is this a different artist? But there's enough transition there, enough subtleness that it's bringing you on this journey that you don't even realize. Because again, one, it's written so well. Got to go back to that. Two, even the lettering. The lettering is so clean.
Oh yeah.
That you're not struggling to get through the storyline. And so the art, the letters, everything brings you on this journey that, again, it's stories like this that kind of irk me. And what I mean by that is you don't realize how fast you just read it. And then now you have to wait another 4 weeks, or in the case of this, longer. And it's just painful.
Yeah.
It's chills.
That's good.
I can attest,
art and colors were phenomenal.
Yeah, I can attest, like, after waking up, I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm sorry if it seems like it. I just, like, as a person that's woken up in a hospital like that, and especially after my surgery, it's weird because, you know, usually hospitals are stereotypically shown as like institution green, very sterile.
Yeah,
like
it's very clean. It's lit very well in movies and stuff.
Yeah, but then it's like when you wake up, like I remember when I went back from my surgery, my dad tried opening a window. I said, no, you need to close the window because I had such a horrible headache because I couldn't eat or drink anything, not until like my bowels, like my guts, like woke up literally. But it was colored like that kind of bits of bright light, and just like it had a warmer setup, the recovery room, but still you're just like, oh, like, you know, it's like that weird sort of haze.
Yeah, it's a miserable experience to be in that kind of environment, in that physical state. It's rough for sure. We actually do sleep studies about that, about people's experiences in there and how they lose sleep because of how often. And then like people are always coming in like every few minutes, like you're just trying to get some sleep, and they come in every few minutes to do a blood draw or to ask you questions or to do some other test, and you're just like, please God, just let me get some sleep. And then it all sort of blends together in this weird haze, and then you just don't really remember it a lot, and it's a mess. Yeah. But yeah, so Marco was actually recommended by Francesco as we were doing it. I was asking, I was like, hey, do you know anyone we could bring on board for these colors? And he's like, yeah, I worked with this guy Marco for a while, and they were totally in sync. Like they knew exactly how to play off of each other's colors and lines. And so when Francesco's lines get a little bit more blurry, or when he puts a certain amount of emotion into a scene, Marco picks up on that immediately, and he starts saturating it in different ways, and he puts in the right amount of water colory characteristics to it. And they work together like peanut butter and jelly. Marco and Francesco are a dream team for sure. And then Seda knows, she's an industry vet, and so she knows exactly what she's doing 100% of the time. And so she's done a bunch of work for DC. She did the Deceased books recently for DC, and she's done a bunch of stuff for Marvel, for Dark Horse, for Image. So she's been around for a while and knows the landscape. And there were times where she actually told me, she's like, there's a little bit too much dialogue on this page, and I'm worried it's going to muck up some of the art. And so I took that as a note and I was like, okay, let me look at it and get back to you. And then so I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, and I just started doing word counts. I have a page on my wall where I write that says how many words should be in a balloon, how many balloons should be on a page, etc. And so I looked at that and started counting stuff. I was like, you're right, this is a mess. And so I shortened down a lot. That hospital scene where the doctor is explaining everything to Ben and his mother, that used to be much longer, and it's already very long as it is. And so Seda is a large part of the reason why some of the writing is as good as it is. And then her letters in general fit the art perfectly. She chooses her color palettes perfectly and everything. She's another one of the reasons the book is as good as it is, and we couldn't have done it without her.
Yeah, clean. I mean, it's so clean. There's very, sometimes it's true that you can get over obstructive with the dialogue, which you obviously need, but then you start losing so much of the artistic content behind it, you know. And there's a nice, again, there's this nice blend. Everyone worked in this nice, I don't know, it's symbiosis. Is that kind of correct?
Yeah, I mean, it was I don't want to say codependent. It was synergistic is a good buzzword we can use. There's a lot of synergy that happened with it. Yeah, everybody sort of worked cohesively with each other, and it worked out perfectly. And I couldn't be happier with the team. If you look at if you open up issue 2, there's a scene where Maddie is walking out of the school and it's raining outside.
Yeah.
And the sound effects that Seda puts in there for the rain, the shh in the background, and it just the colors and it blends in with the rain. Oh my, that's literally one of my favorite panels of the entire series, just because of how Seda designed the letters in there, and it's awesome. I love that team so much.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird because it's like I'm kind of like thinking about the rain that's been happening lately in like California in general.
Yeah.
Like how this water just sounds like there was this one time I like woke up and I really felt like people were just dumping buckets of water on the roof. I'm like,
yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah. We live underneath a couple of really big trees, and so like these really large droplets will come down and hit our roof and stuff. And I've woken up a few times thinking that there were like rats or raccoons or something like on our roof or in our walls or something. And then as I listen, it's consistent and it just kind of goes and goes. And I was like, oh no, it's just the rain.
Yeah. I have to say I'm really digging this story. And when I was reading that, like what you're talking about right now, that panel, and I saw that the image, and then I saw the shh in the background, I was starting to get creeped out. You know, I was like, okay, I know what's happening. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the letters are perfect for this story. I love just when the monster's just going like sweet pea.
Yeah.
I love it, man. The colors just blend perfect. It gives it that perfect darkness when it needs to be, and then it has that little lightness when it is a little different mood. But yeah, that rain setting, because I read issues 1 and 2 back to back, and it was just phenomenal. Usually, some people will be like, "Oh, I gotta wait," but it was so good. I read it back to back, and I was surprised as hell, like where it went, because you think you know where it's going, and then it's like, oh no, like especially issue 1, you don't really think that's what's gonna go down, and the time jumps and everything. It was awesome.
So we do another time jump, and so issue 3 is now going to. So initially, this book was going to be a monthly release. It's going to come out monthly, physically and digitally at the same time, but because, as you know, distribution for physical comics has temporarily ceased.
Yeah.
So physical copies are still coming when distribution picks back up, and that we'll have to adjust the release schedule for that to probably be released again on a monthly basis whenever it happens. But for digital releases, it's still coming out, and we've actually condensed it to be now a weekly release. And so issue 3 will be out this week, this upcoming Wednesday on the 15th, I think. And then the following week will be issue 4. We're still waiting on confirmation from Comixology. But issue 4 will be out the following week, and then issue 5. And then the trade will be out a week or 2 later. And so everything has been condensed.
So it is.
So hopefully
5 issues in
this
arc.
Yep. 5 issues total for this one.
And then a week later, a trade will pop.
A week or 2 later is what we're hoping. The trade is sort of a different animal than the comics themselves, because we work with with actual book retailers and stuff like Barnes and Noble and stuff. But as it is now, we are hoping to get it out a couple weeks after the 5th issue drops.
So we'll get.
And speaking of which, well, I mean, as far as the trade is concerned, for those that are not going to, and because of our situation of not being able to get the floppies and distribution and all that, and I'm there with you guys, man. This is fucked up. But as far as Barnes and Noble and everything else and trade, could you discuss that in the sense of where can this be made available as a trade to the community that might not have access to these individual floppies?
So where can you pick up the trade when it's available physically?
Yeah.
That's actually information I don't have a lot of knowledge on. Like I said, it'll be given to. I don't know how real book distribution works so much. I know that Barnes and Noble will take them up, but yeah, that's a good question. Because I think Diamond still does the distribution for trades to comic shops.
They do.
Yeah. I don't know if they do it to Barnes and Noble or if Barnes and Noble works with a different distributor or not. But once it's out as a trade, it will be more widely available. It'll be on Amazon. It'll be at Barnes and Noble. It'll hopefully be at a lot of the local bookshops as well as the comic book shops. So
now the community can also jump on Action Lab, go there directly, and possibly purchase it there. Is that possible?
I don't think they do a lot of direct to sale on their website. But yeah, if they do it over there, then you will absolutely be able to purchase it from them on their website. Yeah, I would like to say that you can even contact me and I can ship you an issue or the trade, but the fact of the matter is, like, I don't get my comps yet either because of the distribution stuff. Diamond would have shipped them to me, so
let's go that route. So hey, community, if you'd like, go ahead. Dillon said contact him on Instagram, and he, will, or us, contact me if you want, and we will figure something out. If you're really interested in this thing, which I recommend this book, we'll figure out a way to get this to you.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere on social that you can find my contact information, send away.
Hey, could I ask one question? I don't know if you asked it before I came in.
Yeah.
But so the monster, I absolutely love the monster. I want to know, are you a Universal fan? Like Universal Monsters did like the Creature from the Black Lagoon. It seems like a badass, modernized Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like it has that feel to it. It's obviously, I know it's your own thing, it's your own creation, but it just like, if they ever made a Creature from the Black Lagoon, I could see them jocking your it's badass.
Yeah, you heard it here first. If Universal redoes a Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it looks like my monster from Sweetheart, they totally ripped it off from us and they stole it, and they should give us money. No, so I do love the Universal monster movies. They're classics. I can't say enough good things about them. But the design of the monster, I misspoke earlier. It's not really my monster, the design of it. The design really is mostly Francesco. He is the one who gave it a lot of the more identifying aspects of it. Mostly what I did was emphasize how thin the stringer should be and how large the bruiser should be. And a lot of the other stuff was just Francesco doing what Francesco does and making things look horrifying. So I haven't spoken about the Universal Monsters movies with Francesco, but I bet dollars to donuts that he is also a fan of them.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that stuff, and it definitely translates really well for me. Yeah. So I just really have enjoyed the story because I read them back to back, as I said, and I'm really excited for issue 3. I'm glad we don't gotta wait too long with all this lockdown stuff.
Yeah,
man,
it's coming.
No, I'm breaking conversation.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Like horror movies. What horror movies do you like?
One of my favorite of all times. Which Dillon?
The Dillon we're interviewing. The other Dillon you'll more likely jump on.
I want to hear.
I run my mouth about my horror movies. I love all the time.
We hang out.
Some of my favorite ones are The Shining is an obvious choice. A movie called The Orphanage is one of my favorite ones.
That's a good one.
Orphanage is great. Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. A lot of history with that one.
That's such a good one.
Mm-hmm. I know that I had said earlier that I was like, let's direct the conversation towards horror movies at some point, but I didn't actually prepare myself to answer the question. Favorite horror movie is so hard. It's like, yeah, what's your favorite food or what's your favorite color? Like everybody has the answers to those. But like, yeah, pick your favorite child. Like, no, don't make me do that.
It's like go. It's
Well,
like
that's
ghost asking, man. Like, what's your favorite scary movie?
Yeah.
Like, man,
Oh, yeah.
am I gonna die if I don't answer this question?
Scream, I feel like has become a lot more divisive in recent years. That some people hate it and some people love it. I think that movie is amazing. There's so much to love in that movie.
I'll hear people say they don't like it. I'm like, really? I'm like that. That's just something I grew up with. It's like you said, Jaws, Scream. Like those are some of my mom's favorites. And I'm a kid of the '90s, so like Scream is just, it's phenomenal. I love it.
Stu in that movie, the character played by Matthew Lillard. I mean, my brother. So spoilers for like a 20-year-old movie at this point. But my brother isn't a murderer. He's not a killer. But like Matthew Lillard's character in there is so specific to how my brother is as a person, and so we used to give him crap all the time and just call him Stu, and he got really upset about it for a while. But but yeah, so when I watch that movie, I'm like, oh, Nick. My brother's name is Nick, but I was like, oh, Nick, you murdering psychopath.
All pissed.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love when he gets at the end when he gets hit with the phone when they're like when he's gotten stabbed, he's like, now your turn. He's like, I ain't getting stabbed. And he's like, all bleeding out, hits him with the phone. He's like, you hit me with the phone, dick.
My mom and Nick are gonna be so mad at me.
That was oh my God.
Exactly, to me, it's a classic movie that's playing on both the horror aspect and the comedy aspect of horror sometimes. You know what I mean? So that's, to me, what makes it good. Yeah. You're like, okay, look, they're actually, it's tongue in cheekish, you know, and it's funny.
Yeah, it's great. What about you guys? What movies you guys like? What horror movies you guys into?
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh God, that was the other one I was gonna say. I had that in the back of my head. It's like that's what I'm gonna say next if I get a chance.
I think because I'm an artist, like just anything to do with hands or hand injuries kind of bugs me.
Mm-hmm.
So like, especially when he's defibrillating the guy and they cut open his chest, reach in and then chops his hands off. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So but I mean, there's a lot of cringy aspects in that movie. Like, I know they did The Thing, quote unquote, too, but it was really the prequel, what happened on the Swedish side. Yeah. But it was interesting because I just think it was a perfect movie. It was like, I normally actually hate horror because sometimes horror lately is just trigger warnings like, let's throw death, murder, rape, all this. And it's like there are movies that are good like that. Yeah. But there are some movies that are just, this is not what I want to see all the time, you know?
Right.
Yeah. What I liked about The Thing is that there were moments where it lulled you into a sense of normalcy. Like, okay, that was fucked up. Well, all right. I think we're okay. Oh, shit, this just happened again.
Yeah. Now the guys in the research station are getting bored again. They're just walking around doing nothing.
Yeah, and then there was another one like where, especially when they tied all the dudes up and they started burning the blood to see who was infected, and then they torched the guy after his.
That was so tense too, because you don't know who the hell got it in them.
Yeah.
Every time it kills me seeing the dog scene, though, I'm like, you son of kill all the dogs.
Yeah, all the dogs are like, no, get it away from us, you know.
I love all
the
props, all the old school 80s stuff.
The practical effects, so good. I think that was probably the biggest downfall of like the prequel movie that they made that they still called it.
That's CGI, man.
The CGI was bad, and the thing is, I think I read some stuff and saw some stuff that they actually did it practically first. They made practical effects for all of it, and then they were like, use CGI instead. And you're just like, why are you doing this? Why would you do that?
I think they kept like one or two small things in there, and those are the few things that you're like, okay, that doesn't look too bad, you know. And they add CGI over it, and it's like, oh, it just looks like a computer, you know, just bad.
I think like they came
I
out.
definitely like my zombie movies and my Contagion movies. So things like 28 Days Later and stuff like that. But there's a movie that was actually shot here in LA at an abandoned, I think it was a hospital. but in the movie they call it an insane asylum, and what the movie's called is Dead Girl.
Dead Girl.
And it's about these two kids find this zombie girl, and down in this
it's like in
basement,
a basement, right?
like right. And what they do is they humanize this zombie. Meaning they really get you involved, and you start feeling bad for the zombie throughout the whole movie. And I really like it. Really, I think it's because I'm getting older that I like a lot of integration between the horror and emotion and suspense and all that. And this movie did it, and it was done on like a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was just I liked it. But I found that even like with independent films, independent books, and stuff like that, these are labors of love, and you get such a conveyance of the artist, what they're really trying to do, and not some restriction of what they believe production wants the demographic to see, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you.
And that's how that movie comes across. So when you're watching it, you're like, don't do, oh no, you know, the whole time you're really involved. And I dig that movie. It's freakish.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie. I don't even remember a lot about it. I vaguely remember her chained in the basement, like on a mattress or something.
On the table.
Yeah. I don't remember a lot about it, but I think I remember liking it when I saw it.
I'd recommend that one. I mean, there's dialogue, there's a lot of acting. It's no name, everyone's no name.
Yeah.
But if you like your infection, contagion, zombie style movies, it's a twist on it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. It's funny, they even did the same thing on what was that, 28 Weeks Later? How they took
Days Later,
and
there's I think the sequel's 28 Weeks Later.
Right. They humanized the victim, the mom, you know what I mean? And you felt bad for her even though she was contaminated and infected. And I dig that shit because the whole time there's conflict.
Christy, your cat.
Yeah, she's an attention whore, so I decided to put her on attention of everybody.
I felt like she was staring at the wall for a second.
She does this cute thing where she
Right
actually calls that. She puts a butt in my face. So I said, fine, you get to go and be part of attention. Now she's like, no.
No, get me out of here. I lied. I was wrong. I don't want it.
Yeah. She's still in my lap, though.
Yeah.
So Dillon, being that you have downtime, I'm sure you're playing video games, right? What games are you playing right now?
Yeah, so I mean, I play video games on and off. I'm sort of like a legacy player now. Like I'll play games, I'll bite the nostalgia trap from time to time. Like I'll buy every Mortal Kombat game that comes out. I'll buy most of the Mario games that come out. Just games that I'm familiar with and have a connection to. I never got into Call of Duty or anything. Recently, I got Doom Eternal when it came out at the perfect time when all of this started to hit the fan a little more. So I've been playing a lot of that. My friend in Oregon, he bought for both of us a game called Hunt Showdown. I don't know if you're familiar with that one at all, but it's sort of it's like a survivor horror capture the flag type of game. And so you are on a team with your friend, and there's like 8 other teams or so. And then there's 1 or 2 like boss monsters on the map somewhere, and you have to collect clues to find it and kill it. And then you collect the bounty from the monster. Then you have to escape alive after you collect the bounty. And so when you run into other teams, like if there's a PvP thing and you got to try and shoot and kill the other team, and so everybody's competing for the same bounty. And so we played so much of that. We play probably 4 hours every day. Way too much.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's a lot. So
Never
much
heard
fun.
of that one. That sounds
Yeah.
cool.
Fun.
I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a sense of black humor. I think it's like I probably feel like I'm like the Last of Us Joel. Like when I go outside to do a shopping run or something.
Yeah.
And then I just like put on my hoodie and then I just go and mask up and I just and I was just thinking like it was like in my head, like I just have a really fucked up sense of humor. I don't know what it is, but like I was just thinking like, like the radio playing, it's like pandemic, but it's like sort of not so pandemic. Like, cause you know how like compared to the video games, like, oh, people are dying in the streets and stuff and mayhem. Like, cause at the beginning of The Last of Us, like all of a sudden everything just goes to shit and I think his daughter dies or something, gets shot. So that's why he has kind of a father thing with Ellie, because he's sort of taking care of a young girl now. And so what it is like I would just wake up in my day and like go around, you know how the environment is, like check your phone and everything.
Right.
People on Facebook freaking out all the time, like listening to the actual people talking. It's like, just go and wash your hands. And it's like, oh my God. And then like as it gets more serious, it's a little more serious, but it's like, oh, okay. And then like you can run around and do stuff, but then you stop running just because the character just doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets tired.
Yeah, and then, well, not even tired. Just I don't want to run anymore. Screw that. But like, there was actually this game way before any of this happened. I think it was called Pandemic. I mean, there's been games on Steam like it where you engineer a virus.
Yeah, I think I played it before.
Yeah. And I don't know. I was just like, I'm not laughing at the death toll. I'm not saying that at all. I have compassion for people. It's just this weird perverse thing, like face the fear. So I'll get the game. I kind of want to get the game Pandemic and just like play it and see how awful it can get. And I don't know, maybe that kind of, I don't know, for me, maybe that type of shit. It's not that I don't care about the actual victims of this. It's just, it kind of puts my kind of worry meter at ease, because like it or not, we kind of absorb everybody else's tension and worry and, you know, scaredness and everything and fear. And I've been keeping well away from that, but rather than avoidance behavior, like, oh, I'm just going to shut off the news and this, because sometimes you just want to know, you know, you have to know, you're curious and see what new developments are. And like what your friends tell you, like I just had a friend whose parents actually had COVID-19, but they took the hydroxychloroquine and the dad didn't get it as bad, but the mom ended up having to be on a ventilator, but she responded very well. And he's like half Cameroon. So he was like talking about how the hydroxychloroquine that was given as a supplemental, because he said back, because I had friends that this was way before it happened, but when he was a kid, like they would take it as a supplement to mitigate the effects of malaria if they got it. Yeah. He says, yeah, like when my friends didn't take it, like the ones that I knew that didn't take it, they got malaria bad. So it's kind of interesting because it gave me more of an insight than sometimes what the news does. Like you have that person's personal experience. So just sitting there, and I guess, I don't know, I went on this whole tangent, but what I'm saying is that as much as we try to shut off, I think it sort of proves that we're more connected than anything. And sometimes people just go ballistic over this, even though it's not like people are dying in the streets, but it is serious. I'm not downplaying seriousness. I'm just trying to put it to what it is in a realistic setting and realistic context. Like we still have internet, we still have our creature comforts, we still can go out and shop. We just have to be extra careful. And we just have to be extra aware. And we just got to wash our hands more often and just be a little more vigilant. But in the back of your mind, that back of the mind stress is like there. So I guess this is how I deal with it, just by dealing with it head on. Like, all right, let's go create a virus that will go in this game to do the thing. Yeah. And again, it's not like I enjoy this. I really don't. But I'm just kind of like, this is how I deal with it, with just delving into the really dark side of things. Yeah.
You simulate something that's much, much worse to make you feel better about what we do have currently.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. For me, I just decided to face the demon head on. That's how I've chosen to live my life. I know a lot of people spend their time mitigating the demon or, avoiding the demon. And I don't do that anymore. I think that was much to my own detriment. So I just say, fine, and fuck it. I'll just go down online Steam, get that game and just play it and just kind of laugh in a very dark fashion. I mean, the thing is, like, when they talk about
why the game was popular too. I mean, there's a disconnect. I mean, I don't think the majority of the people that are really playing the game really want to take out the populace. You know what I mean?
No.
It's kind of like that weird thing, like you go to the edge of the cliff, and even though you know that you're going to, if you throw yourself off a cliff, you'll die. You have no desire to die, but you just have this weird feeling wanting to jump off and see what happens. Just following.
That's my wife, not me.
I don't know.
My wife says that.
I mean, I've heard that sensation. I'm actually afraid of heights. I don't know what they're talking about, but
I think it's called staring into the void or staring into the abyss or something like that. Yeah, there's a term for it. Me and my friend, I had a friend in college. And like, I don't remember why he brought it up, but we were in our living room talking. He was like, when you're driving down the highway, do you ever just like look at your emergency brake and like wonder if you could just pull it and just see what happens? And I was like, yeah, like I actually have thought about that. Like I've driven down and like put my hand on the e-brake. Like I'm never gonna pull it. Like that would be ridiculous. But like I put my hand on the e-brake and it's like, what would happen if I pulled this? And it's a thing. Like, there's some, I think it's called staring into the void or staring into the abyss, is like looking at something that's looking and considering something that's extremely self-destructive, but never actually considering without considering almost.
Yeah, like you don't want to go like sometimes people get into this, and it's weird but I've been through this too, where it's like I just sit there and I just feel gray, and it's like, and I haven't felt this lately, but once in a while, and I've talked to other artist friends about this, like, I kind of want to die, but it's like you don't have any urge to kill yourself. You're just kind of like, wonder what it would be like if I was dead,
Yeah.
It's like that weird morbid thing. And I mean, it's like you just acknowledge you have that part of it inside of you. It's like, it doesn't make you abnormal. It's just only when you actually start planning for stuff will it be abnormal. But it's like it's in your head, like the dark thing. So
yeah,
I think it's also a recognition of life too. You know what I mean? Just by thinking of that, it's just like, oh wow, yeah. And it brings off many times more appreciation for it just by acknowledging death. Gives you a little more appreciation for that life.
Yeah. I think also like it makes you a better person. This is weird because like sometimes the people that are the nastiest, meanest people, they're like, oh, well, you should always think positive. And that like brimming that weird toxic positivity. And I hate saying toxic and positivity because I think sometimes they've been overused. But the thing is, you have to acknowledge your angry emotions. That's why I did Demon Bitch. Like sometimes you just hate a motherfucker for being an asshole. And you have to acknowledge like, yeah, I kind of want this person to die because they're an asshole. But at least if you admit it to yourself, you can let it go and move forward, aka essentially forgiving them. Yeah. So it's sort of like this weird absolution thing, but I've never found it good to say, well, I never hate this person. I never could hate. It's like, no, you would hate if you were pushed to it. It's what you deal with it, so.
Yeah, you have to, there's a difference between rejecting negative feelings and then acknowledging, accepting, and dealing with negative feelings so that they're not there anymore and you can just get over it.
Yeah,
you can try to stay positive, but it's like you're still gonna be that motherfucker that pisses you the hell off. And it's like
to loop that back in, that's kind of what Sweetheart ended up being. Is so this first issue was really, like I said, like I started it out and I was like, everyone's gonna die, no survivors. And then because I think about the like George R. R. Martin and stuff who just kill off their main characters like they're nothing, like they're all red shirts. And so like I didn't want anybody to feel safe. Like it's dangerous. I don't want you to feel comfortable with any character because they're gonna die or they have a possibility of dying. The first issue was just like all the negative feelings that I had, all the struggles that I had, just all the fears that I had, all the anger that I had put into here to try and make it as horrifying as I possibly could. And then so I wrote the first issue not knowing if there were going to be more issues. And so what ended up being issues 2 through 5 was, and like I wrote it all out before it was drawn and released, but as I was writing it, it was very it was this it wasn't just me trying to put in some lighter stuff at all. It was me actively working through those negative things that I had put in to the first issue. And so I want to emphasize that while the first issue is very dark, it's very grim, it's not all doom and gloom. And so it's not to say that, hey, if you are suffering from a chronic ailment, you're fucked. Like it's not about that. That first issue was those feelings, but as there's an arc. We're going somewhere with it, and that was actually an organic window into me figuring it out for myself, because I had all this anger. Anger at the ailment, but I had all these feelings, and as I was writing it, I was working it out myself. And so if you're into horror, if you're into this kind of stuff, like take that journey with me, and maybe you'll be able to face it too. I'm hoping that people will get something like that out of it, is to be able to look at it and say, hey, I can get over this too.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, speaking for myself, I know I'm there with you. I feel that. I mean, the conveyance of what I believe you're trying to do in the book, I felt, you know, and I was just as angry as the characters were in issue 1, and then it translated over in issue 2 is it was more of a
Heartfelt.
you're just,
That was a tear.
yeah. I mean,
Kevin was tearing up.
because again, like how I put myself in the time that it was me that walked into my daughter's room.
Yeah.
It was me that woke my daughter up. It was me that told her, hey, look, your life's going to change forever. And we have one of two options at this point from this moment. I can either call 911 or I can take you to the hospital myself. But I'm sorry, I can't do anything for you. And this is just how it is. And again, getting back to the book, that's what I was feeling. And again, in issue 1, the anger of the individual that has to deal with this, and then just the contempt, you know, that the individual has to deal with, and then how much it hurts, how much it goes into from issue 1 to issue 2, and how much it just hurts knowing that you always have to contend with this. And yeah, I feel it. Yeah, as I read it, I feel it.
It's really tough to be diagnosed with something and have to fight it on your own, but it's a whole other type of struggle to witness someone you love fight that fight and be stuck on the sidelines and forced to watch it. And so the other part of it that I wanted to explore with this whole thing is how friends and loved ones are affected. So few horror stories really get into the effects of these things and what they have on people close to the primary victim. It's hard to watch a loved one fight something like cancer, diabetes, HIV, depression, addiction, any of these things. It's so difficult to watch, and I've watched it myself with other things, and that's part of, I think, why I could put that experience into the story. Is you can only do so much. Sometimes you can't do anything, and you just have to hope and give them the support from a distance and hope that they make it through in their own way. You literally can't do anything for them otherwise, and it can be really frustrating for that. And so that's something that we wanted to touch on and try and explore in the story. And so I'm really happy that it was able to translate into that, and that it's something that was picked up on.
The mom character was great in that aspect where she can't do anything, but
she gets so pissed.
Exactly, yeah. But she, as you see in the boxes, that the son will be like, you know, I when my mom's strong, it would make me feel strong, you know, but when she was sad, it would make me feel sad. And it was just, I really like that connection between them two. I'm definitely been a mama's boy growing up. It was, you know, so I like, she was like, you know, like, she's like, you won't get him. Like, stay the fuck away, because you ain't getting him. You know, like, I love that. Like, it was crazy too, you know, with the son too, you know, because I don't really want to spoil it, even though I know you said you could, but just when he kind of has his reflection, he's like, nah, like, you better chill back, because you ain't going to do it. And then, you know, what happens is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
And then, I wanted to ask too, so we're going to get this first arc. It seems like you got more than one volume in you, with how, you know, how heartfelt and how deep this story goes for you. Does it, like, do we have any plans for that for Action Labs, or have you set up a volume 2, or does it kind of depend on the sales? Because I really really hope we can get a volume 2.
So I have not had a direct conversation with Action Lab about doing a follow-up to this at all. Do I have ideas? Yes. Do I have the start of some scripts? I do. But it will, as much as it pains me to say, a lot of it will depend on how successful this first series is. I feel like Action Lab would be open to doing more, despite the sales for it. But for me personally, it will depend because a lot of it is funded by the creative team, and so it's hard to do a book that isn't successful over and over again, kind of a thing.
Right.
But yeah, there's more. That's one of the benefits of, like I said, when I set the story in Ellicott City. One of the reasons I did was because I was trying to world build before I could play in it. And so the benefits to doing that, to setting up a world and then telling a story in that world, as opposed to the other way around, is that you've got so many other things you could possibly do because you've got a setup for it now. You have a sandbox to play in. And so there are other things that I have to say about it and stories that I want to tell there. So the answer is maybe. I guess.
Well, I like that answer.
Yeah.
I could see the world building just from issue 1 to 2. I could see it, and that's why I asked, because my fingers are crossed because I want to see more of this. I was hoping we'll get an ongoing, but I know you also mentioned about like a prequel type, about the Hills issues.
Yeah.
So, that would be cool to kind of get it in between arc or something like. I know Stickney was talking about that, where he's like, for White Ash, he was like, I'll do like a prequel in between after the first arc, and then we'll go on to the second arc. But they'd have like a little in between, and that would be cool just to kind of give a little more world building or backstory.
The backstory. I wrote a backstory issue that I have that was meant to go in between, I think, issues 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But then the way things panned out is that like it was really going to interrupt the flow of everything else, and as much as I love it, it was gonna throw a wrench in the gears of how things were progressing.
Right.
And so I didn't end up doing that one. But I've got a script for it. It's there, and so we've got something for it, and it's just a matter of what we do elsewhere, I guess.
Maybe it'd work perfect right after the arc, then,
Yep.
I mean,
maybe like a one shot or something. We'll see.
Yeah, awesome. One shot, whatever. I mean, that, because once you said that, I'm intrigued for that, because I'm getting like the Hills have Sweetheart or something,
Sweethearts have eyes.
Yeah, there you go. As soon as I heard it and everything, I was like, that just sounds cool.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that'd be right.
I hope it does great, man, because I know Kevin's been supporting you. I know I wish my shop was open, because I was ordering it. I got both copies, I'm pretty sure, coming. It's just with everything going on with the store, my boy Kevin even snagged me.
Got a copy coming from me.
Yeah.
This is
and he flipped through it. I was like, hey, Dillon's got to get a copy signed by Dillon. Come on, man.
So one of the things, because comic shops, a lot of them are closed down temporarily, or a lot of them are doing like curbside pickup, and they're doing deliveries themselves, things like that. And if you can find the book there, please do. But like I was saying, they can't order any new ones. Diamond almost sold out. I haven't checked recently, but last time I checked,
sold out.
What's that?
Midtown had sold out.
Yeah, Midtown sold out, and that's a huge deal. Which is, I was ecstatic to hear that. But if you're having trouble finding the book, and this is for anybody listening to the show right now, I've got let's see, I'm trying to think of how many I have. I've got 20 or 30 comp copies of the first issue, and then I've got, let's see if I got this one here. So this is a copy of issue 2, and like there's no Action Lab thing here. There's no
the Virgin.
This is from one of my first runs when I was just doing self-publishing. And so if you really want a physical of issue 2, I can't get you an official one, but I've got this one here if anybody out there is interested.
Was there gonna giveaway?
Me too. Hold on, because I want to read the article. I've only read
Wow,
two.
fight me for it, Dylan.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I think I probably got 10 of those left.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
issue 2?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Of those
What we talking?
I guess we don't gotta fight for it, Kev.
self-published.
So are we still doing the giveaway, or what's going on with that? Because I know we mentioned that earlier.
We are. So this is how we're going to do it. So before we get to there, which will be there real quick, I usually at this time, I like to throw a little sideways questions at you. So for instance, here we go. Kind of rapid fire. Do you like marshmallows?
I love marshmallows. I love them cooked. I don't love them raw.
Oh, wow. Dylan, you're just like Dylan.
Yeah, they're weird when they're raw. When they're cooked, they're hot and crispy. They got different textures. When they're raw, they're weird.
That's what I told him, and he gives me crap for it. He messes with me about it.
Oh gosh.
I knew.
The other night I was actually eating marshmallows in front of him raw. Just
that was like my exact answer too.
Oh gosh, it's a Dylan thing. They don't get it. We get it.
They really don't, man.
As far as cereal is concerned, what's your favorite cereal?
Oh gosh, what I have in there is Life cereal, cinnamon Life cereal, and I like that. I'm not supposed to eat it because of the diabetes, but I got it.
Cereal too.
Oh, my favorite cereal I think is Cracklin' Oat Bran, which sounds. It sounds like when you think it sounds like Raisin Bran, which doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. It sounds like an adult cereal, but it's got a sugary sweetness to it, and it's very, very good. And I cannot eat very much of it. But that is my favorite cereal, I think.
As far as outdoor activities, where do you find that you can actually kind of hit the reset button? So meaning, do you like jogging or hiking to sometimes just clear the head? Do you do anything like that?
I used to, so when I lived in Oregon, my space specifically for doing that was just walking out into the woods, just going on a hike, because in Oregon it's very easy to isolate yourself out in the wilderness, and it's very peaceful and it's just very nice. You can just relax and just reset. But here in California, it's a lot more difficult. There's lines and people everywhere, at least in Southern California, here in San Diego. Like I went on a hike the other day, and there's a line of people walking at the trail, and I was like, this isn't relaxing. It feels like I'm just at an uphill line at Disneyland. And so wow. Here what I've taken up is I don't do surfing. A lot of people here surf to reset, but I started snorkeling a lot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and so I bought this really cheap snorkel kit, and like when you just go down into the water and you see all the Garibaldi fish, and I saw an octopus once or twice. And it's so relaxing. Just be down there. It's quiet, peaceful, and there's just nothing going on. And so that's my reset spot now is going snorkeling.
That's fucking awesome. Yeah, that's way cool. I don't know if you've got to go to Laguna area. So if you just go a little north of you, there's a bunch of diving places off of there. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I've heard about a lot of good diving places and a lot of other spots. I haven't ventured very far out of the La Jolla Cove that's here, but I'm always considering trying to branch out and find other spots. It's just it's tough because like the nice thing about living where I live is it's a very short drive. I could even probably walk there to the cove, and so like if I try and drive anywhere too far, it becomes less relaxing. Because I like to do it just on the fly, and so if I have to drive out there, it feels like a chore because I have to plan it and drive out there and stuff.
Sweet. See, these are the things that I like to ask people because it gives a little insight that normally people get. You know what I mean? Because everyone always hits you with the same questions. What inspired you? What was the first thing you wrote? You know, it's rare that people say, hey, do you like wearing Van shoes or
I did
sandals guy.
When I was in college, I was given, I don't remember, I was at a job and they were like, teach something. And they're like, just think of a topic and then teach it to the rest of your coworkers. And I was like, okay. And so I actually did this mini course called Relationships Through Obscurity. And it was all about how people have programmed answers for like, hey, how's it going? How's the weather? What's the elevator pitch for your book? And like everybody's got these programmed answers that they just throw out without thought. And so if you throw out really obscure questions, then they have to think on their feet, and you get a little bit more of a true sense of what's going on. So I get it.
I can't agree anymore. I mean, I took psychology in school. So basically what you just said is one of the psychology ways of being able to get more genuine answers from people is you hit them with a sideways question, then you hit them with a question that they normally reactively say, and now they have to think about it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I like it.
That's fucking awesome. So, hey, just like Christy said, let's go ahead and give out a book. Now, this is what I did. I didn't buy one copy of this, and I really didn't buy 2 copies of this. I didn't buy 3 copies of this. I didn't buy 4 copies of this either. No. I ended up buying 5 copies of this, and the reason why is, I'm one of those guys that likes a cover B. Yes, I'm one of those guys that has to get a cover A.
And then you have 3 copies of cover A.
I got this one for Two Gun Pedro. Two Gun, you still out there? And Two Gun Pedro, Dillon, Dillon that writes the book, he lives by you. He's not too far out there from you.
Yeah.
I recommend see if you can find a shop in your local San Diegan area. And if you can't, I'm going to inform you how you can start getting this on a regular basis. This one, Dillon, is for you, my co-host.
Yes.
All right. Now, the final one right here. If you're in the chat and you want this book, why I got this book. Now, this is how you're going to get this book. 1, if you want this book, please type in the chat, comic bug. Bug as in like the insect. The reason why. The comic bug is one of the LCSs that I get stuff from. This is the last shop that I know that Dillon visited to do the signing. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's where we met. Yeah, it was at the comic book over there. It's where I signed the copy and met you. Holy crap! I just know that I can see live comments. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah,
you just can't like respond to them unless you're on. You can see the comments, you just can't respond unless you're on like a separate YouTube tab open.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, I always use my phone for that to talk to people. When I'm.
All right. Sorry. All right. I threw out.
If you want, perfect. Comic Hunter's in there with the comic bug. Type in comic bug. I will enter you in this wheel and we'll spin it. Now, if you want the ongoing series of this, contact the comic bug in Manhattan Beach or Culver City. They will send these things out to you. The comic bug did a rad deal for me. They not only got me all 5 copies of these things at an extremely discounted price, just because they knew that 1, I'd be handing these things out and buying them for the community. But they're the ones who also gave me this, the fuck that's going to JRK real cheap. They're the one that also sold me another copy of Going to the Chapel, signed by Mr. David Pepos by Dillon Comics. This one's going out to you too, man.
Oh, hell yeah. That's the trade.
You get
that's the trade?
That's the trade. Oh. Yep. You're getting all his stories, man. And I apologize, Mr. David Pepos and Mr. Drew Zucker, but I did finally get me a Canto book. If you pop in the chat, I will hand this out even right now. I'm going to give this out in the next few weeks. Or if David pops in at any random time, I will spin that wheel and give it to anybody that just so happens to be in there. So getting back to this, we got Perry.
I need a heads up when you do that giveaway.
Yeah. So we got a Perry that wants to be in this spin. We have
call them out for you.
We got
Comic Crazy and some comic book hunter.
All right, so we got Perry, Hunter, and Crazy. Is there anyone else that 1,
Rose.
2, 3?
Yeah,
Rose. Definitely Rose.
Yeah.
She's been hanging out with us all morning. So I got 4 bodies in here, and that's all. Am I missing bodies? I'm going to give you some time, people. I'm going to give you some time. Just a couple. So there's Rose, Perry, Hunter. Yeah, that's 4, but we got 8 in the chat. I'm going to spin this thing soon. And let's throw that down there. Oh, down there. Oh, I just threw myself away. That ain't good. And that ain't good. Let's see if we can. Whoop. Ah, okay. That was a test run. And so that was a good test run. All right. So I think I got everybody. Everyone ready? Close that. Because I don't want. He's going to be pissed if he saw that who ended up winning. Okay. So let's get ready to spin this wheel. See, here's the wheel. There's the 4 bodies. Everyone ready? I'm going to end up making myself big just for the moment. Just for the moment. And there I be. All right, here we go. Let's spin this thing. Who's going to get it? Who's going to get it? Ding. Looks like Rose, you're getting this.
Ooh, hanging out in the chat the whole time.
Yeah, Rose, you're way deserving. And I know you're going to enjoy the story. If you want to continue the story, I ask either you contact the comic book or contact Dillon directly. And I mean the Dillon that wrote the book, not Dillon Comics, even though Dillon Comics, I'm sure, would welcome you anytime that you want.
Go to his house, lick all his stuff.
I know you got that book somewhere. I know you got it somewhere in here.
And yeah, I mean, this was awesome. Anybody have anything to say or?
Congratulations to Rose. She's been putting it in.
Yeah, congrats.
She has.
This is a great. Usually we only go like an hour, so it was great having you, Dillon. It was real cool to meet you, man. I've been literally like Kevin told me the day before, because sometimes I've been big on the indies this last year. That was like my whole goal is to get into a lot of the indies and just focus full on with that with my channel. Just because I enjoy the story so much more, and he knows I'm a huge horror fan. And I was at work, he's like, "Do you hear about Sweetheart?" And I was like, "No," and he's like, "Yeah, it's sold out on Midtown." I was like, "Are you kidding?" And I was like, so I with everything going on too, because I had ordered both copies because I was like, I gotta have this. And first I ordered the one, and then I ordered the See There's a Variant. I was like, I gotta have it. I was gotta have both of them. So I like to support you guys just like Kevin does, and I would have read it already, so I appreciate you sending those PDFs over to Kevin so that I could read them for this show, because I was really excited to be here, and I didn't want to come and just sit and not know about the story. So I really appreciate that, because
of course, and I, not just for myself, but I think I speak for all the other indie people, Pepos, Gogol, Boer, everybody. We really appreciate the support that you guys give to each and every one of our books. It's life changing. I mean, these books depend on the support that people like you give it, and so we're eternally thankful and grateful that you're supporting the work that we do.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, man. I was just telling Dillon this yesterday that I do what I do for none of the recognition, for none of the accolades, for none. I do this because I feel it's the right thing to do. And for me, the bonus that I get is I get to hang out with people like you. And if I can do a decent job, then I get more of your guys' material. And, Christy knows how I feel about her. And I do what I can for everyone, because you guys are awesome. Artists in general, they always give more than they can.
Seriously.
And I am so grateful. I really am.
They'll be thanking us, and I'm like, dude, don't thank me. I'm like, I'm trying to give a platform for you guys, and like I should be thanking you. Like, you guys are giving us incredible stories, and you're giving us your time out of your busy schedule to come hang out and talk about these comics and give us a little more detail on what made you want to write this story, or what gave you the inspiration. And we get to know you a little better, and that's always amazing.
We do it because we love it, and we're able to do it because you guys love it, and so we love you guys for supporting it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks, Dillon. Christy, as always, I can't thank you enough. I can't wait for this to be over, because we're gonna have a nice lunch, and I know we can't wait. I want to send this book out to you. I'm not gonna wait until this COVID thing's out, so I'm gonna send a yearbook to you too. And yeah, everyone out there in the community, love you much. I appreciate you greatly. Please, if there's anyone in the chat that you haven't subbed before, sub them up. And yeah, I think that was it from us at 1-2 Comic Talk. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you very much. We're out.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Oh, I had it.
No.
I lost it.
I did that yesterday, man.
Encore.
You put a
Take
kitty
care.